Today I'm going to summarize an article by Christopher Toth, Revisiting a Genre, Teaching Infographics in Business and Professional Communication Courses. In his abstract, Christopher Toth tells us that infographics exist on nearly every topic. In fact, there is even an infographic on the evolution of communication in business, as can be seen to the right. This infographic, along with most of the infographics within this presentation, can be found at www.visual.ly. Christopher Toth goes on to say that instructors of business and professional communication courses cannot leave out infographics any longer. They are becoming too prevalent within our society and need to be taught. Finally, he gives two approaches to increase awareness and exposure for students. First, an analysis assignment, and second, a production assignment. He tells us that infographics used to be found only in newspapers like USA Today, Time, and Newsweek. But now they are increasing in popularity on social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. When Christopher Toth did a Google search for infographics, it returned 17.2 million results. That right there tells us just how prevalent infographics are becoming. Infographics are an increasing trend in the business world as well. They are being used on company websites, marketing campaigns, alumni newsletters, and annual reports, just to name a few. Once again, Christopher Toth tells us that professors cannot ignore their importance any longer and must bring this subject matter into the classroom. He says instructors can help students judge the quality of existing infographics and also help them create effective infographics on their own. For approach number one, he tells other professors that the first approach is for students to analyze infographics. He says this is an easy way to integrate infographics into an already existing course, and that this assignment will only take about 2 class sessions to complete. He first asks students to analyze the genre of infographics. Within this, he shows students some of his favorites that include interesting design, quantitative and qualitative information, and good references. He then asks students to view as many infographics as possible outside of class. He gives them some websites like www.visual.ly that I mentioned earlier, along with others like www.dailyinfographic.com, and tells them to research as many as possible and find their favorites. They are then asked to pick their top 3 and answer the following questions. Who do you think are the intended audiences? How informational are the infographics? How persuasive? What original context would be most appropriate? What visual design elements make you attracted to these infographics? What visual design elements, if any, detract from the main messages of the infographics? To what extent do the infographics contain misleading information or data distortion? To what extent are the visual design choices effective or ineffective? And to what extent overall are your 3 chosen infographics effective or ineffective given the audience and purpose you have identified? In the next class period, he then shows some examples of what students have submitted and then has students give verbal feedback to their classmates. They tie infographics to already discussed topics like the importance of audiences and purposes, design techniques, and persuasive strategies. So within the first approach, Christopher Toth says that it exposes students to the genre of infographics. It helps students think critically about the genre. And this assignment also allows students to understand that infographics should be rhetorically situated and ethically sound to be effective. The second approach he gives is producing infographics. This is the next assignment that he does in his classes. He says this is an optional add-on to the first approach if you have time and if the major objectives of your course align with this assignment. This will last more than 2 weeks, he says, if you want to do this assignment with your students. He first has his students pitch an idea in a 3 to 4 page memo. Within this memo to him, the students have to explain their purpose, their audience, the story they're going to tell, and also give the references for their infographics. Then in the creation phase, students must have clarity, be concise, understand tone and design. He has them all design an infographic that is at minimum tabloid size. They are working under very strict size and time constraints, which he says is a good learning experience for students. He lets them choose the design platform of their choice, whether that be InDesign, Photoshop, or some other platform. They then have to share drafts with peers before submitting. He finds that this verbal critique is one of the most important steps in the process. After this, they submit a final infographic as a PDF, and they finally write reflective, evaluative memo. In this memo, they've described the rhetorical situation of completed infographics and evaluate the effectiveness of their infographic. Finally, in his paper, Christopher Toth gives reflections on how he sees these two approaches work within the classroom. He says that some students excel and some face execution issues, as is with any assignment that he gives within his classes. He says overall, students are very pleased with these assignments. He knows this because he conducts end-of-semester surveys with his students. He says these approaches help the students tie together concepts from earlier in the semester. He also says that students tell him that they're more engaged because it is fun to create these infographics. He also tells us that students are surprised by the amount of work that goes into an infographic, which really gives the students an appreciation for this marketing tool. And finally, he tells other professors that this is a fun substitute for a formal report assignment. If you want more information and want to learn more about Christopher Toth's findings, the reference is below. His article can be found in Business Communication Quarterly. And again, the title is Revisiting a Genre, Teaching Infographics in Business and Professional Communication Courses.